Hi, my name is Katie Nenninger, and I am a graduate student with Colorado Christian University. The purpose of this short video is to present the findings of my master's thesis manuscript. In the Epistle of John, Jesus says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." In the book of Exodus, we also find the 10 Commandments. The fourth one reads, "Remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. 6 days you should work and do your labor, and on the 7th day shall be a day of rest unto the Lord." The Sabbath is not an optional command in Scripture, and the observance of it holds a specific purpose in the life and soul of the one who abides by it. Maslich and Lettler, leading experts in the area of organizational and job burnout, describe burnout as the erosion of the soul. As gruesome as that sounds, that is in essence what is happening when the Sabbath, a period of rest designed for mortal humanity, is not observed. The answer to why burnout is so prevalent is simple: lack of rest and lack of relationship. Understanding what proper rest and relationship have to do with burnout is best described in a short analogy between a shepherd and sheep. You might be like me and not have much experience around sheep. However, authors Lehman and Pentek have a good understanding and share this about sheep. Sheep will not lie down unless they are free from fear, rivalry, pests, and hunger. That makes sense, right? Now let's go a little deeper. Author Keller also has experience as a shepherd of sheep and connects the job of the shepherd to their care. When we examine each of these 4 factors, fear, rivalry, pests, and hunger, that affect sheep so severely, we will understand why the part of the owner plays in their management is so tremendously important. Keller continues and says, it is actually the shepherd who makes it possible for the sheep to lie down, to rest, to relax, and be content and quiet and flourishing. A flock that is restless, discontented, always agitated, and disturbed never does well. Psalms 23 reads, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." There are 3 important connections we want to make here. First, the shepherd is the one who initiates the time of rest for the sheep. He makes me lie down. Second, the shepherd does not just point the sheep in the right direction. He leads them beside still waters. Third, before restoration can occur for the sheep and the shepherd, intentional lying down and being still must occur. And as a result of this obedience, souls are restored. He restores my soul. It is important to recognize that the shepherd is experiencing a time of rest with the sheep. Through this mutual experience of rest, there is a relationship being built, with its foundation established on trust. The sheep have to trust the shepherd in order to lie down and rest. So what does this analogy of sheep have anything to do with burnout and lack of rest and relationship? Researcher Banks states, as long as leaders perceive rest as having little or no importance, organization performance will continue to suffer. However, as leaders demonstrably accept and support the need for rest, organizations and families will reap the benefits of having optimized members. Maslich and Lettler list 6 primary causes of job burnout: work overload, lack of control, insufficient reward, breakdown in community, absence of fairness, and conflicting values. Do any of these sound familiar to you? They sound like fear, rivalry, pests, and hunger to me. The core belief of the value of humanity is as fundamental in the workplace as it is in the home and the community. Remember the fourth commandment? It identifies the breadth of a leader's responsibility for Sabbath, not only for the individual, but also within an organization and community. The keeping of the Sabbath commandment goes beyond the individual responsibility. The command declares that a leader is responsible for ensuring that their subordinates are adhering to its commands, and only then is the leader acting in obedience of the command itself. And only then is the soul of an organization restored. The Sabbath is not just a good idea with which leaders have the option to implement for materialistic gains. The Sabbath is a command with which leaders have an authoritative responsibility to their subordinates. In the Epistle of John, Jesus says, "I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep." Johnson identifies 2 aspects of ethical justice within the workplace: a sense of obligation to the common good and the fair and equal treatment of others. Ethical leaders are obligated to adhere to the observance of the Sabbath through the adherence to a day of rest themselves, and providing equal and fair treatment to their subordinates. Still not convinced that burnout, rest, and relationship have anything to do with one another? Keep listening. In Jeremiah, God speaks, saying, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and have hewn for themselves broken cisterns that can hold no water." The Sabbath is a hallowed day, and rejection of it erodes the soul to where it is broken and holds nothing, thus leading to burnout. Through 3 methods of research, my thesis has correlated the relationship between burnout and the Sabbath rest, and specifically within organizational culture and community life. The first method of research was the personal experience and observation. I have gone through burnout, and through my experience, I have learned that a rejection of a day of rest is critical. Through my current job, I worked numerous days in a row without taking a break. And the days that I was off, my mind was still enmeshed with the work that I was doing. So I was not taking a break at all. The more that I worked, the less time that I had spent with my Creator, and the less time that my soul was restored. The second method of research that I used was metadata analysis, using studies of previous researchers to obtain information on the issue of burnout and lack of rest. Carter, 2012, explored the correlation between burnout and lack of rest amongst Seventh-day Adventist pastors and identified loneliness, isolation, and lack of intimacy with God, self, and others as being major factors affecting clergy dealing with burnout. In another study by Slavojani et al. Correlated significant physiological, occupational consequences due to burnout and lack of proper rest. There were many other studies that I conducted as well, and many of those correlated lack of sleep, leisure time, working more than 6 days a week, and managerial influence directly connecting to burnout. As I continued on, the third method of research was survey data. There were 2 questionnaires that I had participants fill out and opt in anonymously. The first surveyed the level of burnout each participant was experiencing, and the second survey assessed the life habits the participant was utilizing during that time or before that time that might have led to their burnout. There were 100 surveys sent out. Only 69 came back that were usable, completed with enough information to be able to be analyzed. The table 1 here shows the demographic layout of the survey, how many people, gender, ethnicity, their age. The graph 1 is the ideal correlation between burnout and life habits, the sustainable life habits. In orange, there is life habits. Blue is the burnout. As life habits were implemented, the level of burnout decreased. But as life habits were not implemented, the level of burnout increased. This following graph is the actual layout of my analysis with the survey. As you can see, the farther apart the 2 points, the better. 1 means that they have good sustainable life habits. 7 means they're really they're not burnt out. But as the 2 lines approach each other, the more burnout a person became. If they ever crossed each other, meant that sustainable life habits were not put in place and burnout was high. So yeah, basically my research showed that burnout and lack of sustainable life habits correlated to one another. The effect that burnout plays on the physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual state of a person is too high to just be ignored or glossed over. Jesus 3 times asks and commands Simon Peter in the Epistle of John, "Do you love me? Then feed my sheep." This question and command to Peter as a leader of the church goes beyond filling his stomach. It speaks to the sustainment of organization. If the Christian organizational leader loves God, then proof of that love is demonstrated in the keeping of his commands and the effective care of their employees and of themselves. Burnout is a multidimensional phenomenon. Attack against organizational burnout must then be combated on multiple levels. The spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, all of those are dimensions of burnout, and on all of those levels does it have to be attacked. Restoring the connection to the Creator, who is longing to be in relationship and bring restoration, redemption, and revival to the soul, is the primary preventative factor against the erosive cancer of burnout. Maslach and Lettler say interventions may be more effective if they are framed in terms of building engagement rather than reducing burnout. So basically, engagement with the Creator, God, of rest is sure to lead to a lifestyle of rest and abundance. Thank you for listening. I hope you take to heart something that you've heard here and apply it to your life. May God bless.